give over the phone to, I think, Catherine, not the phone, the microphone. Want to just talk a little bit about New York, because there was a question raised earlier. And I have my own views, and this is obviously opinionated. I personally think making sure that you do this right is very, very important. I think getting the rules strong and building that culture of safety is critical. But I think you can make a very big mistake in going too fast or too slow. And I personally think New York has gone way too slow. And I think the result is bad for New York's economy, its consumers, and actually bad for the environment. Because in the US, as was shown, I think, by Mr. Goldwyn, there is competition between coal and gas to make electricity. And low-priced natural gas in the US has displaced a lot of coal burning to make electricity. And the reduction in CO2, as well as mercury, arsenic, toxic air pollutants, has been very big in the US because we're using so much more natural gas. Had Pennsylvania or Texas and the other states that have shale gas development done what New York has done, we would have been burning a lot more coal and probably a lot more oil instead of the natural gas. The results for the environment and for public health would have been much, much worse, at least in the US case, in the case of the United States, had we done that. So I think you've got to find the pace that makes sense for you, but I would caution that you can go too slow as well as too fast. Natural gas in the modern world is a cleaner burning fuel than often the alternatives. If you're not using natural gas, the odds are pretty good around the world that you're using coal and oil. In fact, the odds are better that you're using coal and oil around the world than in the US. Coal is 19% of our total energy in the US. In China, it's 70% of China's total energy. In many parts of the world, coal is the dominant fuel, and natural gas is almost certainly going to be cleaner than burning coal. So if you're going really slow on natural gas, don't forget you're burning every day coal and oil, and the net result of that is not a good thing, probably for your local environment. So I think that's a key issue to pay attention to. That doesn't mean ignore the issues around shale gas development. You should pay attention to those issues. But I would suggest to you, New York is an example of a state in the United States that has gone way too slow, and had the whole country done the same thing in the United States, our air and our environment would be dirtier, and the public health would be worse. And it's a good thing that Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Pennsylvania moved ahead while paying attention to these issues. One last point on this New York example. I'm personally familiar with a farmer who is just across the Pennsylvania border. He lives in New York. He has got a small family farm, 200 acres. It's been in the family for 3 generations, and it's in a lot of financial trouble. It's what we call in the US being foreclosed on. The bank is going to take over the farm. He can see the Pennsylvania border. He can see gas drilling in Pennsylvania. And he's not allowed to drill the gas that's on his property because he's in New York. He is probably going to lose his farm because of the moratorium in New York that has now been in place for close to 5 years. To me, that's another example of going too slow and not really understanding not only the environmental issues, but the economic issues, as well as the impacts on people's quality of life. These issues are serious. They cut in multiple ways, and moving forward with the development in a responsible way, but in a reasonably expeditious way, I personally think is the best way to address these issues. Thank you.